Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you, as always, for stopping by. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at Jeremy Awori's Mindspeak presentation, please take a look. It was very powerful, I thought, part personal journey, philosophy, and then speaking to this very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times, how he characterized it, VUCA. And then if you want to have a look at the presentation itself, you can take a look at that as well. That's very good as well. Good morning, Ali Khan, said Eva Katrina. Look, you're on the television, and I have to thank Eva personally for the interaction over the years. Thank you. Can African leaders stop money laundering? Was the interview inside story on Al Jazeera to which Eva was referring. Martine Dennis was the presenter. Razia Khan, head of research, Africa Research at Standard Chartered Bank, and Anthony Goldman, CEO of the political risk consultancy Pro Media. And this was about officials attending this year's World Economic Forum on Africa, coming from countries with crippling unemployment and inflation, and even the host countries in the middle of an economic and political upheaval. Corruption is one of the biggest factors contributing to South Africa's deteriorating economy, and President Zuma, who has been repeatedly accused of it, has been under pressure to do something about it. So it's that discussion very interesting as well. Thank you. Macro thoughts, maybe Bitcoin is the new gold, which is what I was thinking when I wrote that piece on the 30th of December. And I said my optimal portfolio at this moment looks like long Bitcoin on its own and long Bitcoin, short gold on a spread. And essentially that was betting on what Holger is speaking about in his tweet. Game of Thrones, Iceland, krona as world's best currency. Iceland's interest rate cuts should have slowed gains in the currency. Instead, the krona is now world beater. Currency has surged 4% against the euro and 6.4% against the dollar since March 31st, taking its gains in the past year to 21% and 15% respectively. That's the biggest advance among global currencies for both periods. Iceland's Banski sees it rallying a further 2.5% to 113 per euro by the final quarter of this year. Krona's gains accelerated as record tourist arrivals, economic growth had exceeded 11% in the final quarter of 2016 off a low base in the comparison, of course. And Western Europe's highest yields fuel fund inflows. Iceland's 2 rate cuts in the second half of last year haven't eroded the currency's appeal, while a government move in March to lift most of the capital controls put in place after the 2008 banking collapse only caused a temporary setback. So that's a good turnaround story. I always wanted to give that. Last time 6-month US Treasury yields were at 1% was November the 4th, 2008. So this is a more than 8-year high for US yields. The probability of a June hike based on Fed fund futures moved to 79.4%. This is yesterday, from 70.6%. So although the Fed didn't move, the market took it as a confirmation that they were going to move in June. Home thoughts. This photograph I took in the Mara, nothing in front of us but the road to the Mara crossing through Masai Mara country. One of my favorite poems, because it always reminds me of my mother, is The Swing by Kabir. And I'm sure I've read it to you before, but it's so powerful. Songs of Kabir. Between the poles of the conscious and the unconscious, there has the mind made a swing. Thereon hang all beings in all worlds, and that swing never ceases its sway. Millions of beings are there, the sun and the moon and their courses are there. Millions of ages pass, and the swing goes on. All swing. The sky and the earth and the water. It's really powerful. Of course, remembering my mother. I took this shot of the traffic yesterday. It was crazy as I tried to leave the office at night. And this is a photo from the 8th floor of my building, night shot. And it's all about schools. The schools are back and traffic has gone up the wall. Buckingham Palace summoned the entire royal household to an emergency meeting this morning. And it's turned out that Prince Philip is stepping down from his public duties. I don't know if you've watched, I think it's called The Crown, it's on Netflix, really amazing series. Le Pen and Macron debate in France quickly turns vicious. He said she was telling lies, she called him arrogant. He accused her of repeating stupidity, she cut him off and told him not to lecture her. He shook his head sadly and she laughed sarcastically. The debate on Wednesday night between France's two presidential candidates, Marine Le Pen of the far-right National Front and the centrist former economy minister Emmanuel Macron, was more like an angry American-style television shout-fest than the reasoned discussion of issues the French have become accustomed to. Look, the market sees it as a 90% probability, or maybe 85%, that Macron wins this election. But I think there'll be a bigger vote for Le Pen than pollsters are telling us. Donald Trump tells Abbas, we will get it done on Israel-Palestine peace deal. Abbas was very fulsome in his praise of Donald Trump as well. I was tongue-in-cheek, saying, don't stress, Jared has got it covered. Ivanka's World by Amy Davidson. My wife is telling me I've got an unhealthy obsession with her. There is no proof that her work will benefit anyone beyond her family, but she is brilliant at giving the impression that it might. And got to read it in full to get a flavour of it. Fed keeps rates on hold as slowdown in growth seen temporary. Federal Reserve officials remain on track to gradually tighten monetary policy after leaving interest rates unchanged and signalling they were not alarmed by recent US economic weakness. The committee views the slowing in growth during the first quarter as likely to be transitory, they said in a statement Wednesday. Near-term risks to the economic outlook appear roughly balanced. They wanted to send the message, said Ward McCarthy, chief financial economist at Jefferies in New York. 1 quarter of unimpressive growth and 1 month of weak inflation data is not going to cause them to alter an emerging timeline of a rate hike in June and September, with the beginning of balance sheet normalization in December. The US yield curve, which doesn't think the same, which kind of thinks that they're not going to get all these rate hikes out of the way, is at its flattest since the election, dipping below 100 basis points, continues to suggest investors are worried about the impact of rate hikes on growth. That's from Jamie at Reuters, quite correctly. Let's go to the currency markets. Euro dollar 109.18, dollar index 99.22, Japanese yen. It's been an extraordinary move. Just hope I haven't jumped on it too late. 112.88, Swiss franc 0.9929. The pound 128.96. The Australian dollar, which is being crushed, is just above 74.11. It's amazing. Indian rupee 64.205, South Korean won 11.3382. That's been firm as well when you consider the Korean Peninsula. And the stock market's been hitting record highs. Brazilian real 316.38. South African rand is around the 13.50 level. Dollar index, I'm going to put up a chart here. This key level in my mind is 99.50. If we go above it, then we're bullish again. If we stay below it, we're bearish. So you take your choice. At the moment, it's tilted to the downside, notwithstanding the fact that the dollar-yen move, if it happens, is quite a big one. Euro dollar, take a look at this 3-month chart. We're now at 109.17. I'm beginning to get more constructive about the euro because I think, core economic data is going to surprise to the upside. So I'm looking actually for a move up to 114.50 by year end. Euro back in favour in latest Reuters FX poll. Only a handful see the euro hitting parity by year end, compared to 33% the year, and I was one of those. Australian dollar, oh dear, 0.7411 last. Iron ore correlation there for some people. Commodities on Chinese exchanges got tonked. Iron ore down 7%, rubber down 5.5%, copper down 2.3%, palm oil down 1.2%, and aluminium minus 0.1%. That was David Inglis. You're looking at the biggest drop in iron ore prices in China this year. Have a look at this. Gold, well, goodness, that really came back when we thought it was going to go nuclear. It did in 12.35. Oh boy. And at one point it was looking straight at 13.50. I think the lesson is we all got rather carried away and thought Trump was going to do his Machiavelli madman theory, and off we went to the races. And of course, the world doesn't work like that. Crude closed near a 6-week low in New York. It's currently trading at $47.62 in New York, or pre-market trading. I think we're going to 40. Look at this chart and look at the way 54 stopped it dead in its tracks, and look at the correction we've seen since then. So 47, I think, is a key pivot price, and I think from there we go to 40. Record prices smash avocado aficionados. Urban millennials already struggling with high house prices and student loans are about to face a rise in their metropolitan brunch staple, avocado on toast. With supplies from key producers, especially Latin America, tightening and demand for the soft green fruit continuing to rise around the world, prices have hit their highest level on record. There is a demand explosion, says Nikolaus Vorbeck, manager of Hamburg, Germany, based in Congo America, which exports guacamole from Mexico to Europe and Asia. It's interesting. Best avocado I've ever tasted was at the Fairmont Safari Club with the Masai Mara, and I'll put up that photograph I took on the 10th of July 2016, and I tweeted then, probably the best avocado I've ever tasted, and it's grown on their premises right there. When we were there, we saw this giraffe that had lost half its tail to a hungry hyena, and I thought, in that one sentence is a children's story, and I still haven't worked my head around it, but maybe I might. South Korea's Kospi, record high close, as I said. Korean peninsula pressures not bothering it at all. China wields its soft power in Africa with some success. This is David Pilling of the FT, and actually we had a discussion a few weeks ago, and I could see his mind was going in this direction. It is important to note that China has several actors of varying proximity to the state across the continent. Drawing a unifying picture or discerning a clear China Inc. strategy is not always easy. Still, you do not need to drink the Beijing Kool-Aid to see that China's image is better than many Westerners care to believe. Certainly no country can engage with a continent so prodigious a scale without ruffling some feathers and making some enemies. China is making friends too. Bishop urges Tillerson to use diplomacy to resolve simmering Congo crises. The Congolese bishops voiced their concern over rising tension in Congo in an April 20 statement after President Kabila unilaterally nominated Bruno Shabala as Prime Minister over the objection of opposition parties. So that still remains very fractious. President Kabila, I think, is on the front foot and is playing his normal game very successfully. President Jacob Zuma and Minister of Finance Malusi Gigaba make an appearance at the World Economic Forum Africa 2017. South Africa's Gigaba says return to investment grade rating possible. Oh, really? South African all share up 5.79% this year. Dollar versus rand. I told you I thought it was going to break higher. The dollar was. 1340 is a key level there. We're around the 1348-49 level. Egyptian pound 18.117. Nigeria's Buhari misses cabinet meeting for third time to rest. Nigerian all share down 2.82% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index up 12.44% this year. Trafigura Group, we are not involved in any funding activity in Zimbabwe. This is the story that they were willing to pony up the cash for Zimbabwe to be able to bail out Zimbabwe, who need to pay $1.1 billion in arrears to the World Bank and to the African Development Bank. I was on AM Live NTV with Debal, and I said, I can't argue with it. New railway, roads, electricity, these are the building blocks of a modern economy. Discussion was about infrastructure and spending. Kenya Central Bank says 12 entities have applied for a stake in Chase Bank. They must be doing a good bank, bad bank scenario. NIC Bank reported first quarter earnings per share was down marginally, actually. 1 shilling and 49 cents versus 1 shilling and 55 cents. Profit after tax down 3.9%. I think it's not bad. First clean post-rate cap quarter we're getting visibility on. I thought it'd be worse than that. Mumia Sugar's chief is thrown in the towel. His losses pile up. Mumia's is down 30.79%, 769% this year. Crown Paints has got permission to delay the release of its full year results. So it's delay around the consolidation of subsidiaries, regional subsidiaries. Kenya Shilling Firm 103. Nairobi all shares up 0.55% in 2017. The NSE 20 is down, by contrast, 1.63% over the same dates. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by.